Well, hello. Racing back is back. No Jerry Burgess this time, but an equally important guest. Our first world champion ever on the show. I'm delighted to say we're joined by Neil Hodgson. And I've got to say, no better person to go to because right across the motorcycle racing spectrum, Neil. 2003 World Superbike champion, 2000 British Superbike champion. He's ridden in 125, 500 and MotoGP races, American AMA Championship, and now he's the commentator and pundit for TNT, so he's right up to date. Neil, that sounds about perfect to me. What about you?
That sounds good to me. It does sound good to me. I mean, obviously, I've known you two guys what feels like a bloody eternity. Well, it is, isn't it?
It is a bloody
I think
eternity.
it is. It is. I think I remember obviously you, Nick, from when I first started Grand Prix racing in 1993. You were running the whole Rothmans side of the thing, the PR thing, then for the factory Honda team. And you, I don't know if I'm sure you can remember, but you were so kind to me and my family. Back then, it was my mum and dad and me. It was a proper privateer effort, and you sorted it so we could eat in the Honda hospitality and get food from the factory Rothmans team. So thank you so much for that.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
it's those things that you never forget. And Julian, obviously, I worked with Julian for about 5 or 6 years, and I've known Julian from the early '90s. And I genuinely, and I know I'm not a bullshitter. I really respect you two guys. Look up to what you've achieved in your career, and hopefully, what I'm doing now is I'm trying to emulate a little bit of what you've done on the commentary side of things.
Yeah, we didn't race motorbikes and win world champions, Neil.
Yes.
Championships. You did. You
Yeah, but you,
started. Yeah,
yeah,
do please
but hang
carry
on,
on.
sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, but no, but as far as the commentating side of things, you were the absolute top. So that's what I'm trying to achieve now.
Ah, well,
That's very kind
that's
of you.
very kind of you.
Very
You
kind.
started as many lads did in Great Britain and all over the world, really. Motocross was I won't say your
Mm,
first love, but your first
I would.
real competitive motorcycle
mm.
racing.
Yeah, it was my first love, as Julian knows, because I'm such a bore when it comes to motocross. I watch everything. I watch all the AMA, the Supercross, obviously the World Championship racing. So I'm a failed motocross rider. That's how I would
Ah,
describe myself, as a lot of road race guys do.
Yeah, yeah. It's interesting how many Dovizioso being the man who
Mm,
springs to mind. How many of them were very decent motocrossers. Petrucci, because that was an affordable way in. A
mm,
subject
yeah.
we'll come back to, money,
mm.
but you could afford as a family to go schoolboy motocrossing without.
Exactly.
It's more than a pair of football boots, but it's not bankruptcy and bank loan, is it?
Mm.
I don't know
Exactly.
about bank
Exactly.
loan. It might have been bank loan, but
Yeah, true.
bankruptcy. Yeah. And almost, I mean, yeah, you rode in Britain, but you went very quickly into the 125cc World
Mm.
Championship. That must have been a pretty big shock to the system.
Yeah, it was such a steep learning curve. I was so lucky because I'd got mainly my dad who had so much drive, and
Yes, I
then we
remember
were
him.
fortunate really early on to meet Roger Burnett, who helped us with the stepping stone of going from British Championship to World Championship racing. So it all happened so quick. I started racing on tarmac in 1990, and by 1993, I was down at Eastern Creek for the first Grand Prix of the year and totally out of my depth, as you can
Yeah,
imagine, not having a
yeah.
clue. I was more of a fan than a racer. I was stood in the paddock thinking, oh my God, that's Kevin Schwantz. Oh my God, that's Mick Doohan, Wayne Rainey. And I just stood around their garages looking at them in awe. So it did happen very quickly.
It's,
And
I mean, a subject we keep coming back to is how does a Brit today get to Grand Prix? Is that sort of route via Moto 3 available? Because it doesn't look like it anymore, because you would have had to move to Spain aged about 12 or
Mm.
something.
Yeah, it just wouldn't have happened back in 1990. The way, like, if that was me now, it would not be possible to do it that way. So it's changed. It's become much more difficult. It's become much more expensive for
Yes.
families. and not just British families, any family across the world. If you're Australian, obviously times that by 10, because then you have to sell up and emigrate essentially. But for any European family, you've to sort of really, the truth is you've to sort of base yourself in and around Spain, especially all winter now. You look at it, it's just increasing year on year. It doesn't stop now. I mean, in the olden days, there used to be a winter period where people really didn't do much, and they had a few months off, and actually you'd go out on the piss, if anything. where now that doesn't seem to happen. They're proper athletes, and there is a program in place, and it is it's a successful program that works. We see it now every time now. I 3 or 4 Spanish riders come into Moto3 from the Junior World Championships. We expect them to win because they've been on this program since they were 12 years old, if not younger. And by the time now at 18, you arrive in the Moto3 paddock, you are the real deal. You've been
in a factory
think of the money
for 2 or 3 years in Spanish Championship, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. But think of the money spent to get there. So at 18 years old, you arrive now as a Moto3 rider capable of winning. And guess what? Your family or somebody spent, and I'm going to say more than £1 million. Pretty much, that's roughly what it will have been.
£1 million.
Yeah, that's what it will have been to have got to that point. If you've started at 12, well, they start younger, but the amount of money now to do the Junior World Championship varies between, let's say, if you're really good, if you're clearly a super, super talented rider, you might get a free ride. You're not getting paid. But then all the rest are paying between, I'm going to say, 150 and 300,000. And that's one season. At the end of the year, this is what I've always said to people. A family scrapes, remortgages their property. They get there, they get to Junior World Championships, they do that season, and at the end of it, do you know what the team does? The team goes like this. Well, I tell you what, you've done really well, scraping into the top 10. Next year, we need £300,000. You have to do it all again. It's not like you've invested in that team. You own a percentage of it. You own the bikes, you own tools, benches, nothing. That's just, you've paid that team to facilitate you to do those. How many rounds is it now, a Junior World Championship? 7, 8? Not even that many.
Yeah, not that many, is it? No.
It's not that many. It's something like 8 rounds. Yeah. There you go, 300 grand.
Which is why
gone.
Somebody told me, probably Mackenzie or Clifford actually, that Red Bull rookies, if it's worth you have to pay your travel, don't you? That's it.
Yeah.
Everything else is there for you. And that's worth at least £250,000 a year.
Oh, absolutely. That's why the Red Bull Rookie Championship's incredible.
Yeah.
What they do and what they have done, as we can see now, obviously with the amount of riders that did the rookies, Top Rack obviously is the latest one coming in. Yeah. Remember, he was a rookie rider. You know what I mean? Like, I know we're going to talk about Top Rack. Jorge Martin, obviously, Zarco was the first champion of the Red Bull Rookies.
None of those families would have been able to do what you just talked about. They did not have the wedge to take the route you talked about.
Exactly. Jorge Martin said that, didn't he? Last year, well, not last year, the year before, when he won the title, he mentioned Red Bull Rookies a few times, saying that obviously give him the platform. They had no money. Well, another one who's got no money, who, let's say, just a normal family, is Pedro Acosta.
Yeah, a fisherman's son.
Exactly. And I believe his dad's a proper grafter and just a working class family, but without those platforms, without that backing. Yeah. And I know obviously then we come right back to the UK. So let's just say right now I've got a really talented 15-year-old kid on my hands. I need to then find 300 grand to get him in one of the top teams. The issue is where did they show the Junior World Championships? Well, they show it on TNT Sports, but it doesn't get really good coverage. So it's not like I can't guarantee, let's say, a UK company loads of coverage, hardly any coverage, because your young 15-year-olds battling for about 8th or 9th or 10th, and he's actually in shot. And
he's dressed just like the rest. In bike looks corporate, just like all the rest.
Yeah. So it's so difficult to find the money to get people to do it, and it's a mess at the moment.
So if you're an up and coming young Brit, do you by default turn to the World Superbike Championship?
Well, by default you do, because you end up in the BSB paddock. To find money to get in the BS paddock, it costs less. You can bring your sponsors to every race meeting.
Yeah.
You can bring them into your hospitality. So if my company, I do a deal and I give a rider 50 grand, but I can take customers to every BSB round. They put on a good show.
Yep.
Everyone feels a part of something good, as opposed to my company spending 300 grand to go to these tracks out in Spain. The Junior World Championship gets no fans, so there's no atmosphere. So you go to this weird paddock, and you're like, wow, it just seems like a waste of investment. And that's why it's so difficult. And the argument, the discussion could be then, well, the Spanish riders are managing to do it. One of the things that helps is they're all in the Spanish teams, so it's easier if we'd loads of British teams in the Junior World Championships, that would help in some respect, because they might want one or two British riders, but that's just not the case. Obviously, we've got Michael Laverty's outfit, which is incredible what him and David are doing with that team. I mean, that's. I'm going to be honest. When Michael started it, I thought, well, this probably isn't going to last. And I don't mean that disrespectful. I just know how difficult it is. But Michael has put his own money in, and I know he has. And he's had years of certainly losing money, but he's got a dream and a desire to achieve something and build something, a legacy, which he's well on his way to doing. And
he's bright enough to see it happens, isn't he?
Exactly.
It is.
Well, so fingers crossed, eh? Yeah. But nobody could.
I know it's. Sorry, I know it's negative, guys.
Well,
I know
no,
it's negative, but
no, it's just it's a fact.
These are the facts. Yeah, these are the facts. I mean, us three, right? So think of obviously the races we've seen, and we've been involved. I know you've been involved longer than me, but I've been involved for 30 years. I can't believe I'm sitting here thinking it could be, and I'm not exaggerating now. It could be 8 to 10 years before we see a British rider in MotoGP.
Doesn't make your job easy either, does it?
It doesn't. No.
I waited 35 years for a British winner in the Premier class commentating on races, and well, I thought I was going out in the box, to be honest, before it happened. Until Cal Crutchlow came along. And what you did, Neil, as well, you went from the 125, suddenly you were riding in the 500 Grand Prix, and the guys you were looking at, you were in awe of, suddenly you were on the grid with them, weren't you?
Yeah, it was incredible. Obviously, I think most riders will look back at their career and you pick the good moments. You look at you think about the bad moments. But one of the things that gives me the greatest joy is knowing that I did that. In 1994, I was riding a 125, struggling because I'd grown and put on weight, and it was tough back then because there was A bikes and B bikes and A tyres and B tyres, all that boring stuff. But there were, as you know, and it was hard. And then to have one season on a 500cc two-stroke, which is what dreams are made of for an ex-motocross rider. And do you know what? I bloody loved it. It was not what people thought, or what I thought. I thought, oh, this bike's going to be hard to ride. I'm going to be crashing left, right, and centre. It's going to be violent. And bits of it was, but I was lucky because I used Dunlop tyres. And the Dunlops at the time give you loads of feel and understanding, so you could slide it like a motocross bike a little bit. Don't get me wrong, it would catch you out, but like if I'd have been on the Michelin tyres, which probably offered more grip and a bit more endurance, but they were more violent, less feel and understanding. So I was lucky, I think, that I was on the Dunlop tyre combination on a big bang engine, so it was a little bit softer, and it enabled me to learn. And I progressed from being one of the slower riders at the start of the season to, by the end of the season, I was quite competitive.
Understatement, you put it on the front row, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, in Argentina. That was, hey, Julian, I tell you what, you would not have wanted to be sat on the back of me on that lap. That was, there's not many times I know I've completely got away with it, but I won't bore you. I won't tell this. I can tell a longer version. I'll tell you a really short story about that, though. I went out of pit lane. It was the end of qualifying. Back then, you got qualifying tyres on. I got my qualifying tyre on. And guess who came past me on pit lane? Mick Doohan. And as we went out on the lap to start, to build up to this one qualifying lap, we just waiting to turn one, and I was with him, and then by halfway around, he'd pulled about 4 bike lengths, and I'm like, bloody hell, this is all right. But I was out of the seat, I was over the curbs, and I went across the line. I saw my lap time, I knocked about 2 seconds off, and I'm like, fuck. I'm qualified in the front row of the grid. It was scary.
Good job Mick didn't have wing mirrors, I assume. It would have been...
Exactly.
I'm surprised he didn't have a word with you.
He did. He did. Get ready for this. Get ready. We need a plug chop. Now that's when you know you're a proper bike racer. We need a plug chop at the end of that session. And because we'd finished a lap together, he came round and he said the only complimentary thing he's ever said to me in my life. He went, you two will laugh at this. I can't do the accent, but he went, looks like you're getting the hang of that. That was it.
Oh, wow.
Oh, compliment indeed, Mick.
Looks like you're getting the hang of that. No, nothing else. No other word.
Yep. Doesn't come any better than that.
No, I reckon that's the biggest compliment you've ever had for riding a motorcycle.
My God, I was like this.
I'd have had the tattooed arm. I'd have had it, my headstone engraved ready. I'd have,
Yeah.
But
if you know, you know. The man of few words, Mick.
Most of them usually 4-letter.
Yeah,
exactly.
Circumstances.
But then you went from the 500 World Championship to World Superbike. I remember you asking me, I think it was in Mugello, what do you think I ought to do? And I probably wasn't the best person to ask, but I said I'd stay in Grand Prix where you went to World Superbike. And, I won't say the rest is history because it's a bit up and down, but that's what you did. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster. It was a roller coaster from that point. Honestly, Nick, I wish I'd stayed in 500cc. I wish I'd stayed in Grand Prix. Yeah, I do. Absolutely. Yeah, I absolutely do, because I love the 500s. I'd had my year of learning. What I needed was a second season on a better bike and a better team, and I'd have been on my way. I think I genuinely do. But it wasn't to be at the time. It was difficult for British riders. I know, obviously, I feel like we're reading the same book here, but there was a lot of cigarette sponsorship in all the factory teams had cigarette sponsorship, and you couldn't advertise cigarettes in the UK. They weren't that keen they didn't really need a British rider. I mean, I was 21 at the time. You'd think I was prime to get into a spot, but there was nowhere available. And as you're aware, Roger Burnett managed me. He was always fantastic, and Roger always had his finger in a lot of pies. So he was in the World Superbike paddock. And then an opportunity came where I could be on a factory Ducati, which was like, bloody hell, this is going to be all right. So we took that opportunity, but then I had to learn how to ride a Ducati, and I was on Michelin's, and it was such a tough year. And I had John Kaczynski as a teammate who was fast and good at playing the mind games. And I'd not really had it. Well, I'd never had a teammate up to that point, so I didn't know what was going on. It was like I was being punched. But I was off. I was crashing a lot. Kaczynski was in my head. I was in an Italian team that on my side of the guys didn't really speak English. It was tough, but do you know what? Everyone's got a story. As in, no one has an easy route. I don't think everyone has a story of, that was tough and I did this.
But your story is even more complicated. As you went to World Supers from a promising Grand Prix position, at a tough time, you got spat out of the Superbike paddock. Went to the British, which is, hello, here's me with a big target on my back, front, head, feet, everything. Won there, and then went back to World Superbike to win. Now that, in my book, is a pretty mammoth achievement. And then the Grand Prix.
Yeah, that's a shame. And do you know, it's so funny. Like, I've just said, I wish I'd stayed in Grand Prix, and then in let's say phase 2 of my career, I wish, after having won the World Superbike Championship, if I could talk to myself now about back then, I would say just stay.
Is a very big part of life, isn't it? Yeah.
Exactly, just stay, because I know you guys know me. I'm not a bragger at all. But I am 100% confident I would have won the following year, because I just was in such a sweet spot in my career. So then to jump onto a MotoGP bike, with a team that had unfortunately lost the sponsor, and it was just a mess. Really, it was such a horrible season after such a high.
I can vouch for that, having sort of.
Yeah,
I knew you were having trouble because I could never find you in the paddock.
no,
You were doing what most
terrible.
But I always think it was the Bayliss tactic. If things aren't going well, all of a sudden
hide.
Visible.
Do you know what happens? And I know you two know this, but the reality is, right, when it's all going so bad after you've experienced some highs, you actually feel embarrassed.
Yes.
You feel embarrassed. Your self-worth is zero. You don't want to see, you certainly don't want to see any journalists because you feel like they might ask you questions. So you're hiding from fans, journalists, friends, and family. You just, honestly, because it's your life, the result determines how you feel, and it plays such a huge part in it. So that's why I feel for riders going through tough times.
Yes.
You know, in their careers, because you're like, I know what that feels like.
Yes.
You can't escape your inner thoughts when it's you and when it's you in bed on your own and you close your eyes. You have to live with yourself, and it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, and
we've got to go back to British Superbikes, haven't we, though? And we got to go back. And I mean, nobody will ever forget, and I'm sure you won't, the Chris Walker battle. So they absolutely lit up British Superbikes, and what a jewel!
Fantastic racing in front of massive crowds.
Yeah,
not a Spanish champion, not what we were talking about the Spanish Championship just now.
Yeah.
Total contrast.
Yeah, it was. Do you know what? And I feel like that was fate for me, racing against Chris Walker. He absolutely brought out the best in me because we just didn't get on. And that worked perfect for us both, really, because it became so personal. There was a genuine dislike for each other. And we were different characters. He was super popular with the fans. He had the best riding style. He'd slide the bike a lot. He always looked like he was trying. I rode the Ducati with very little body movement. I never upset the bike. I actually looked slow. I remember my mum saying to me one time, which always made me laugh. I came back to the motorhome and I'd got pole position somewhere, and she said, "It's weird. I was out on the track and you look really slow." Which no rider ever wants to hear, do they? And I was like, "Oh, cheers, Mum." And she actually said, "Chris Walker looked really fast." So there's one for you. But yeah, we had just one of those battles that came down to the last round in the championship. Sure. And I've said this before, and I don't mind saying it. Chris Walker should have won the championship. His bike broke down with 4 laps to go. He did not deserve that at all. Yeah. Obviously, I benefited from it. At the time, I was so smug and I didn't care. And I could have given him the V's on the way past. Now, obviously, as a 52-year-old man, you think, wow, that must have been bloody hard on him because he'd finished second in the championship a few times. And me and Chris are really good friends now. I totally respect what he could do on a motorcycle, and still can, by the way. He's still bloody fast.
Yes.
So, that was tough times for Chris, and it really elevated me.
Yeah, and I think you won a couple of British rounds of the World Superbike Championship, and you had a bit of a coming together with him in that as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? It was such a good feeling because I'd had 3 years prior in World Superbikes, and I lost a bit of confidence because I was learning to ride a superbike. I was racing against. I can hear my dad saying one of my dad's sayings is there's no duck eggs. I don't know why. And basically there was no one slow. Like I was racing against Harger, Bayliss, Edwards, Sly, Fogarty, Corsa, Killy. Like to win or to be top 5 against those guys was hard. And I was the king of the 5th place in those 3 years. Yeah. But then I jumped on a Kawasaki and then I started finishing 7th and 8th and I lost my confidence. Anyway, I came back to Britain, regained my confidence. And then the team said to me in 2000, "Do you want to do a wild card?" And it was like a boxer who'd been knocked out a few times, but he'd changed the way he trained, and he knew he'd come back fitter, stronger, and with a stronger chin. And that was me. I literally went, yes, bring it on. And I knew I was going to win. I knew I was fast enough. And what I was looking forward to the most was bullying them on the track because I'd got my confidence back. And I remember going out in the first practice sessions as a wild card and sitting behind riders and purposely waiting for them to turn into the corner. And I'd let my brake off and I'd sit them up. I was horrible, really. But but you sort of need that in you. If you don't have that in you,
Yeah.
you're never going to win. And I'd sort of rediscovered that bastard, excuse my language, in me,
That's all right.
and that's what I had. And if you watch the greats, they've always had that. Rossi was the king of that. He'd always have, like just perfect aggression at the right time. Obviously, Marquez is the king of it. Pedro Acosta's got it, hasn't he? That.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
you just need that. No, that this is my line, my race, my day. Screw you. And yeah, so
Yeah.
came back and won a couple of races as a wild card and beat them all, which felt so good.
I'll
And
bet.
it opened the door for going back into World Superbike.
Yeah, I was lucky then. The team I was with in 2000 wanted to move to World Superbikes, so I had that continuity of staying with the same team, same crew chief, same team manager, Colin Wright, who was incredible, really,
Yes.
real strong man. No messing with him. It was, this is how we're doing it. But I needed that at the time. He was like a strict school teacher that just kept me on the straight and narrow and wouldn't allow me to make decisions. Even with setup, he'd get involved. He'd be like, no, keep it like the same. It's you. You can be better. And I'd be like, oh, we're fuming, but I'd go out and I'd try and prove him wrong. And actually, I'd do is prove him right because I'd go faster. Having not changed the setting, and you're like, yeah, he was a great man.
Nick, we have 10 minutes left on our time.
Righty-o. Oh,
Sorry, I talk too much, don't I?
No,
You're not.
we're here to listen to you, Neil. That's the
absolutely
point.
not. Yeah. And obviously, back to World Superbikes. My golly, that was a halcyon time for World Superbikes as Julian and Keith Hewin commentating, all the Brits doing well, and you went and won it.
Yeah, it was a good period. I was lucky then. In 2003, I signed for the factory team, and they brought out a new bike, the 999, and I got back on Michelin's for the first time, and I realised what I've been up against when I've been on the Dunlops, and that's why now with the one make tyre series in all the classes, it's so much better. You could have a long season if you were on the wrong tyres. So I got on the right bike in the factory team on the right tyres and managed to win the title. So,
Right.
and I'm still talking about it now.
As our time is
Quite
closing
rightly
in,
so.
Neil, can I ask you where you think World Supers are going? What is the future? I mean,
It's a strange
new ownership,
period.
sports bikes not selling in the showrooms in any
Yeah.
numbers. What
Yeah.
happens to a production-based championship?
Yeah, it's worrying, isn't it? It's worrying. But we've had this conversation before. There's been
Oh, yes.
over the certainly past 20 years, been lots of times when you're like, God, Superbikes is sort of struggling a bit, and what's going to happen? I mean, obviously losing their main stars never ideal. They've lost their Valentino Rossi with losing Top Rack, haven't they? So
definitely.
that's not certainly not going to help. But it's that common conversation of surely they've got to go back to even more stock racing. Sort of.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's because I know obviously the amount of money that's spent in World Superbikes, a lot of money. They are full factory exotic bikes, and they're a long way off a road bike, aren't they? As we know. So
Yes. I mean, when I look at if you sit at the side of a track, a superbike goes past, a super stock bike goes past, a super sport bike goes past. They look the same, they sound the same, and really, there's no difference in speed when you're sitting there. Things have got to be 3-4 seconds a lap slower. I always think before a spectator goes, "Oh, that's a little bit slower than what I saw last time round."
Yeah, it's funny you say that. My dad always says that about the TT. He said every race is the same.
Yes,
a lot of people say that about the TT, don't they?
Yeah. And especially with us, we know about the history of watching the 125s and the different sounding bikes.
Yeah,
and,
that's right.
So I mean, Dad's like, I'm a bit bored because my dad always says it's the same 4 riders. Well, obviously, roughly the same top 10 in all the different classes, isn't it? 600 or whatever race it is. So
very true. So,
so
do we go to a naked bike? Do we go to super stock?
Golly.
Well, we definitely don't go to baggers. We don't go to them. We don't.
Thank you for saying that. I was trying not to go there.
Yeah, I mean, and don't get me wrong. I'm not. Listen, if it works in America and that's their audience, and obviously I know they're coming to MotoGP for 6 rounds, and it will be novel, and we'll all laugh and enjoy it and go, wow, look at that, it's funny. They've got the patches on
McWilliams in a good quality of wine.
Of course.
Exactly. But I'm not a fan of that. But yeah, To be honest, I don't know the answer. It's a tricky one, isn't it? I don't know what the answer is. I just hope Superbikes survives. I think it will, obviously, but you feel like there has to be a change.
Yes, I mean, how much would it cost? How much would it cost to go, let's say BSB? That's still, to get on that grid, it's a massively expensive operation. If you're not an importer, if you're a dealer team or a private team, it's hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Yeah, it is. It is. But what Stuart Higgs did really though for World Superbike for BSB is he's tried to keep the costs down.
Yes.
The problem with that is then you've got two different superbikes. You've got the World Superbikes that are these exotic factory bikes. And what I'm saying, the problem with that is then your talented BSB riders can't just do a wild card with their team because the bike's not competitive.
And then. Can I just underline that, Neil? That in the glory days of World Superbike, the wild cards were a wonderful, wonderful part of the entertainment. You go to Japan, oh, hello, Mr. Aoki, etc., etc. Australia,
I remember Tamada coming past me on a factory Honda. And after 3 corners he'd gone, I'd never heard of this young 19-year-old kid, never heard of him. And I was like, what's just happened? Who's he? Like, and then you go to America and you'd have all the fast Americans on full factory bikes, Miguel de Hamel and all that lot, and obviously UK and yeah, it's lost a bit of its charm, hasn't it?
Yeah,
World Superbikes with the fast.
Even in Grand Prix, wild cards were great, weren't they?
Yeah,
amazing wild card rides in Grand Prix. It was part of the fabric, wasn't it, of the race?
Yeah. Well, we'll all remember Narek Arbe at Suzuka battling with Mick Doohan. Yeah. With the unique riding style and
hair
that
out
massive
the back
crash.
Of the helmet.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. With all the cool sponsors.
Yeah, and
the
massive crash at turn 1.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, I think the bike's still doing that.
I think it is. I mean, it was.
Commentators' nightwear, weren't they? 125cc Japanese Grand Prix riders. Oh my God! Yeah. We must move on as we're going to run out of time. So, Colin Edwards always said you didn't come quick enough to MotoGP. You bided your time, and it just wasn't right, was it? But you went to know that when you went.
Yeah. I knew straight away that it wasn't right because I knew I could tell the dynamics of the team, and we were the bike wasn't bad as in the Ducati. It wasn't awful. But you needed all the right parts in it, and because the team lost their sponsor straight away, they were sponsored by Visa. If you remember, the bike was painted in Visa colours.
I do.
So they got this fantastic sponsor, and then they kept the colours for a while because they kept hoping they'd pay something, but they never paid. So the team ended up in a horrible situation where they'd no money, so riders weren't paid, mechanics weren't paid, but also suppliers weren't paid, and they'd had enough of that. So trying to use old brakes and just old stuff wasn't working, and literally it just got worse and worse as the season went on. And instantly, I realised, I thought, oh well, obviously I'm not enjoying this, and I thought I want to do something different. I want to enjoy my racing. Because at the time I was 31, so you're like, I've had a long career already at that point, but I don't want to just try and hang on and get a B or C ride in Grand Prix. I'd now rather get an A ride somewhere, and that's why I then went to America.
Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much, Neil Hodgson. My golly, Jules, that was so interesting. And now I know you've rung the bank manager and asked for that £1 million to get
there was some home truths.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, there were some home truths there, weren't there? There was
what's there? Just...
Woof, that's what you want to get your kid to be a Grand Prix racer. I hope you've got £1 million in the bank. Bloody hell.
And all the other stuff. I love the Mick Doohan comment.
Epic. I've got one of those of my own from Eddie Lawson that I will tell you at another time.
Oh, righty-o.
That I want on my gravestone, but I just thought that was brilliant. And it's worth reminding that, you think, World Superbike champion, British Superbike champion, very good 500.
That's right. I think he finished 11th that year. I did check after what
I don't think he did a full seat. Can't remember, but also a 125 champion.
Yeah, in Britain, yeah.
You know, this is
I, rem- I remember him and his mum and dad him, and he was a young lad. His
yeah.
mum and dad seemed quite young as well at the time coming. And
Yes.
they in the Rothmans hospitality, they used to come for their evening meal. It was great, to see a
Yeah,
young British family really.
yeah.
It's
No,
so keen to go Grand Prix racing.
and with Neil, it's those up and downs, you know, that he
Oh
documented so
yeah,
well there. That
yeah,
I'm doing brilliantly. Here's a kick in
yeah.
the
Oh
unmentionable.
yeah,
Oh, I'm back doing brilliantly. Here's another
yeah,
kick. You know,
yeah.
and to keep coming back, that is
That's
the
right.
mark of a champion. That's
Yeah,
what
absolutely.
champions do.
Absolutely. I mean, we got an important message to everybody now. This is why we've come back, really. I mean, the success with Jerry Burgess, the reaction from you all has been fantastic. And honestly, I thought I'd read some out, but there's so many of them. I mean, it's getting into three figures, I think. So enjoyed Jerry. And I will tell you, Jerry has promised he will come back. And probably in a month's time, Jerry will be back on this. And we'll ask you to do some questions and everything else. But
Mhm.
thank you, Jerry, once again. Thank you, Neil. And, you know, not criticism. People will say, well, they're not long enough. You cut off before the end of the programme. Well, there are reasons to this, aren't there, Jules? We've done, 36 episodes for fun only, to be honest. That's
Exactly.
what it is. And no, absolutely no budget at all. So we have to take what's available. And we do want to expand, but we do need help, don't we, Jules?
We do. What we need is for you to subscribe. In other words, register to be notified when the new pods drop, as I believe young people say today. And it helps us. We've got in. It helps us climb up the algorithms.
Yeah.
So if somebody searches for Motor Grand Prix podcast, Jerry Burgess, McDougall, Neil Hodgson, we'll be up near the top, and it enables us to start accessing a little bit of cash from advertising. We've reached that level. Now, this is not going to make me or Nick into, buyers of gold bullion, but it
Or
might help.
sponsors of British riders in MotoGP.
No, it'll be a few bob to pay the studio cost of Rich, our benefactor, and maybe to stop us having to use the how shall I put this? The cheap and cheerful, free software that we're using to do this, the cut-offs, etc., etc. But it costs you nothing, and it helps us.
Yeah, and if you really want to support us, what we are looking for is some sort of sponsorship at some time, big or small, to sponsor the whole program. And obviously, as our popularity increases throughout all the fields, a sponsor obviously will gain recognition from that. So if you know anybody or you really want to help us, it is, as Julian said, to improve the software, improve the program, make it longer, and perhaps buy a couple of pints of me, Julian, and Rich.
Sometime around Christmas.
Really is the man behind all this, who's done an amazing job, especially in the last 2 weeks through the cloud of morphine after his knee operation. Yeah.
Which also, of course, might explain a few of the things you've seen and heard.
Yeah. So all we can say is thanks again for supporting us. We love the program. We got lots of plans for the future, but we just need that little bit of help. Big thank you also, Julian, once again to Neil Hodgson. That was great, wasn't it?
Loved it.